Okay, students, so I've been trying over and over and over again to get Windows to record my um, example program for try catch for off and on all week, and it had kept losing my audio for some particular reason. Um, the program looks kind of like this, with the form looking like this, and the code looking like this. And you can see that there's quite a bit of stuff added here. But every time I went to record it and everything, I typed in all of this stuff and explained it along the way, and it was kind of a pain to get to the end and find out that I had no audio. So we're going to try this one more time, and I'm going to use a different screen recording piece of software. And so if you're hearing this, it worked. Okay, so we're going to sort of start at the beginning. I made a copy and went sort of back to the beginning, cut out most stuff that I had added. Okay, so form-wise, we are back to the beginning here with what we had before. The only thing I changed that is reflected here is that I changed this so that it says click to validate. As I mentioned in the forum, you need to say click because there are astonishingly a high number of people who, even though you have a button here, and even though they might have been using Windows a while, somehow just don't get that they must click. So, when we're designing these things, we need to make those as clear as possible. Let's see, a button, or a label rather. I don't know why I call it a button. My hand is shaky because I've been annoyed all day. Let's see. Is that the right spot? It'll be good enough for the moment, I think. This is not in the right spot. This is the right spot. Okay, and label. Okay, labels 3. Okay, now then. I'm going to go name these. Label. This is forgiven. And error. This is a place where I'm going to put error messages if the person doesn't pay attention, and that this is going to be for giving them this message that says there must be all characters. But it's going to also start off by just giving them a nudge in the right direction that says enter the given name in letters only. And then surname error, and again enter surname in letters only. And this one label age error, and text enter age in digits only. Okay, so this is not strictly necessary, but it sort of prompts the user to put this in the correct fashion and to make sure that these are correct. Why aren't these lining up? Oh well, I guess I'll just have to put up with it. I'm sort of compulsive, so when they don't line up, I want to know why. Anyway, so I put these in so that we're kind of prompting the user when the program first starts to tell the user what to do. This one isn't aligned properly for some reason. Like I said, it's going to drive me nuts. Oh, I bet I know why. Well, no, it should be right. Text align, top left. Let's make it here. Text align. I don't understand why that's not lining up right. It's going to drive me nuts. Anyway, okay, it'll do for now. Okay, so this is basically what you had before. The only thing I've changed is to add the try. The try is the portion of the program in each section where you're going to test for problems, whatever the problem might be. And you have a starting brace and an ending brace. The catch is the place where you handle some kind of problem that pops up. Now at the moment there's nothing here, and as a result of that you can see there's a squiggly line here underneath the exception name that I give it. It's kind of like giving something like the label a label name. This is the exception name that I'm giving it, but at the moment it doesn't do anything, although I put this on all three of these, and I wanted to show because in the forum somebody asked, well, you know, why will we use regex when we have to add that thing at the top, and then there's a problem with regex. One of the things with the try catch that immediately gets taken care of, let me comment this out, is that even though there's nothing in the catch section, the catch will execute if something goes wrong as a result of the regex. So if I run this, and one of the things that went wrong was when we were in either of the regex controlled boxes, if we put in an invalid input on the very first character, or we tried to backspace from that very first character, that was wrong. It would throw an error. However, you'll notice that it didn't do that here. And here, if I try to enter a letter, it doesn't come up with the error. And the reason for that is that the catch, there's a bunch of boxes here that were empty, because of the catch, it doesn't fall apart. Okay, so right off the bat, just doing try catch stops that particular problem. Now, I have this message box in here to kind of demonstrate something that's a little wonky about the regex. Let's just go straight to this box. If I try to put a number in here at the very first thing, you'll see that the length of this is said to be 1. And then the length is 0. I think what regex is trying to do is to stop the problem by eliminating the character on its own. But to be perfectly honest, I don't exactly know why it does that, because there's only one message box right there, and yet it came up twice. Okay, so I'm going to eliminate the message box here. Actually, I think I'm going to eliminate it completely. Okay, so if the try catch were to generate a particular message, let's do message box dot show. Okay, and I'm going to use the thing like this. Oops, forgot part of it. Message. Okay, so you'll be able to see that this still does go wrong if I try to enter a digit here. And you can see length cannot be less than 0, parameter name length. Okay, but we really want more control over this particular situation, and so let's do that first off, and we can do this in the code most easily by doing this. And it says if length is equal to 0, then don't subtract 1. I mean, this is what it boils down to. This is what's generating the error. Length goes to 0, and then it subtracts 1, and then it generates the exception. So this stops that particular problem. So if we were to run this, and I go down and I try to put a digit into surname, you'll see that it doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen because it literally doesn't let it happen by saying if length is 0, okay, then just set the thing back to the original length. Now, this doesn't happen regardless if the situation, if you enter a letter first and then enter a number, the error message would never have occurred anyway. The exception only occurs on the first character and only because the length ends up going back to 0 and then to a negative number, actually. Okay, so this is kind of okay, but now we want to do something that is a little more practical from the standpoint of all of these. This doesn't generate any kind of error at all, so we're going to create throw new exception. Not only that, but we're going to give it our own message. Let's see, yeah, I'll go with that. You must enter letters only. Okay, so when this happens, it's going to jump immediately to the catch. So if you try to put code underneath where it says throw new, it'll never get reached. You'll get a compiler error that says unreachable code. Okay, so be aware of that. Now this has a thing and it says exception given. And so we might want to output that particular message. Now, I created those label things because I wanted to give it in a more appropriate setting. So, label given error dot text equals exception. Oops, I didn't type the right letter. Exception given dot message. Let everything catch up there. Now let's say that I start typing a letter or I hit a digit then. And you'll notice that this message will change. You must enter letters only. Now, if, you'll notice it takes out the number like it did before, the digit. Now, let's suppose that the person starts typing correctly again and they type letters. It still has that error message, and you don't really want that to occur. So, let's fix that. This is the part that checks the letters and then finds that they're not letters and then does something. If there is a situation where it's not a problem, then let's say label given error dot text. Oops, that's not an equal sign. Equal sign. We can blank it out, or we can put the text that's in there, that was in there originally, back in. I have qualms about putting in all of that kind of extra stuff while the person is going ahead and typing that particular thing. Okay, so letter, digit. You must enter letters only. Person starts typing letters again, and it goes away. Digit, letter, digit, letter. Okay. So that solves that particular problem. The next thing that we are going to see here is that if we didn't do this if-else thing, you saw that original message that said something about this, the length cannot be negative or cannot be less than 0, I think it said, or something like that. So we fix that with this, if-else, and, send the right length back. So that's all of this. It's all functioning, but ideally, we'd like to send back a meaningful message in the event that they type in a wrong character. Bad user. So we're going to do a thing again. Throw new exception. And I'm starting to type this, and I'm being kind of stupid because it's the same message as this exactly. Copy. Sorry about the clickety-click here. Throw new exception. You must enter letters only. Okay. And again, we do want the else here now this one is basically the same, but we are using surname error in this case, and dot text equals empty, and then exception surname will be put into that LBL surname error dot text equals exception surname dot message semicolon. Okay, so we go there, and so now we can type blah 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 digit blah blah blah. Okay, now next thing, digit doesn't cause a problem except to give you the error message, letter, 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 digit, letter. I put in the wrong error message, didn't I? No, that was right. Never mind. So, as it does that, it's, going to give you the corresponding error message until you get it the right way in. And it's going to prevent you from having a problem if you keep backspacing excessively. So GGG for given name, SSS for surname. Okay, so that brings us up to age. If we put in a letter, try to put in a letter, potential problem. Now, I did modify this one from the original, which looked like this, with, this is what it looked like. And if I were to collect the message here And I'm going to put it into label age error so that you can see it. Equals exception age dot message. Okay, because I want you to see oops, back. If I try to put in a letter here, and that original message is still there. Length cannot be less than 0, parameter name length. Okay, so this is the stuff that we still get. Now I could go and I could do this bit with the if else and break this up so that it doesn't do that. The other thing I can do is I can change the if statement and I wanted to go ahead and do that to show you that this can be done with the other method. Okay, so is all character is digit as opposed to is letter. And by the way, there are other ones of these, like for digits and letters. Okay, so, and this one now says throw new exception must only contain digits. Note, I have the else already in place here for taking out the error message, and the catch we've already put in here for the message, so that's not a problem. So that when we run this, given, surname, age needs to be, obviously, must contain digits. So 1, 2, 3. And as it does that, it takes away the prompt for things also. So a person sort of has a visual clue that, yes, they've completed this. And when you click to validate, it says you may close the form. Now, throwing your own exceptions has advantages and disadvantages. One is that when you're doing a try-catch with only one catch, it's not a big deal. However, if you are trying to catch multiple exceptions that are specific, like if you were doing something where you were looking for bad file name, and you also had something like this to generate exceptions for this, they'd all get caught at once. Because as far as it's concerned, there's no way to discern which exception it is without going inside of the catch and separating them out. And that's not really the best way to do this. Now, if you wanted to generate your own catch that actually exists, you can do that, but that's kind of beyond the scope of this section of the description this week. At some point along the way, they tell you to use finally. All finally does here in this particular case, I don't know why I did that. All finally does in this particular case is to reset anything that you feel needs to be reset at the end of this. Now finally, anything in this section no matter what is, will be executed, whether it's going through catch or not. That is, whatever you change in try will also be changed here, and finally, whatever you change in catch will also be caught and changed, and finally it's just batting cleanup. That's what it all boils down to. It's not required to use. It's only really needed if you have something that needs to be reset before it's going again. And a lot of times this is used whenever we are going in a situation where the try catch is in a loop. So you need to reset something because it's in a loop. Okay, so don't worry about it here, and don't worry about your assignment having to have the finally. So that's the only thing that really matters here. Okay, so I'm going to take out all of the commented parts here. Except for that. Okay, so the first one here is forgiven, so it looks like this. So if you need to pause the video to look at that, you can. The next section was for surname, and the last section here was for age, and then of course there's the checking to make sure there are no blanks. So, you know, so the user knows that they can legitimately close this. To move on to other processing. Now, this is, you know, useful to understand try catch, but try catch can get a little bit more complex, but still this is useful. Hopefully we're still recording, and I can end this here.